Divisional weekend in the NFL is one day away, starting with the Texans against Kansas City in Kansas City. And man, should it be a fun weekend. And Texans running back Joe Mixon ran all over the Chargers in the wildcard game. 25 carries, 106 yards. But could he miss their game against Kansas City? Well, he's listed as questionable with an ankle injury, but NFL Network is reporting he has a very real chance to play. And with that, we welcome in CBS Sports NFL writers Brinson and Tyler Sullivan to break down Texans, Chiefs, and gentlemen, what do the Texans need to do, or what do the Texans need out of Mixon to win this game against a really good Chiefs defense? Tyler, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think that, again, he's one of their only real skill position players that can have those kind of game-wrecking ability games, right? I mean, it's him and Nico Collins who have over 1,000 yards from scrimmage on the season. And so when you're trying or tasked with going into Arrowhead Stadium and taking down the back-to-back Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, it's an all-hands-on-deck kind of game, right? So it's not like, oh, all right, well, we'll see what Dameon Pierce can do because it's a Week 14 game or blah, blah, blah. No. This is a chance to go to the AFC Championship. You need Joe Mixon, even if he is on somewhat of a bad ankle, to play in this game to give yourself even a puncher's chance. And overall, it just speaks to the overall kind of attack that Houston has to have here, where you have Joe Mixon playing the best to his abilities. You have the defense, which has been playing sensational over the last few weeks here, basically since Week 11, shutting down Patrick Mahomes. And so it's going to take that complementary type of effort for Joe Mixon, the defense, obviously C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins, to try to slay the beast at Arrowhead.
Yeah, I think, we see this stat here where the Texans are 6-2 and Joe Mixon rushes for 100+ yards. And I'm like, I'm not making fun of the stat, but I'm going to agree with the stat here, because usually what that means is that the Texans are playing from ahead and Joe Mixon is rushing the ball and he's gaining those 3.5s and 3.5s and 3.5s, and he pops one off for a bigger one, or they get down to the end zone and he get down to the red zone and he rushes in for a touchdown. I think they need Joe Mixon to rush 25 times against the Chiefs, and it will mean either they win or they lose by like 40 points because they're just running the football every single time. If they have Joe Mixon running downhill against Kansas City, and you can make Kansas City a little more one-dimensional, force Patrick Mahomes to drop back against these great cornerbacks, all of a sudden you have a real puncher's chance to like maybe steal an interception here, pop a ball up in the air, tip a ball at the line of scrimmage, flip the field, and just like lean into that run game. So I think it is imperative that Joe Mixon's out there, and I think they need Joe Mixon to carry the ball a bunch and run well, especially if they get any kind of a lead. But clearly that relies on C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins first.
So it's going to be a battle of who is going to win the trenches. And listen, if the Texans are able to pull off the upset, it will be the first time ever in Patrick Mahomes' career that he's lost in the divisional round. Just a crazy stat. Now, later Saturday, gentlemen, the Commanders and Jaden Daniels look to shock the world and beat Detroit. They answered the call in Tampa, but playing on the road in Detroit, that atmosphere is going to be on another level. Ain't that right, Dan Campbell?
Ours will be the loudest they've been in all year. And now, how does it affect them? It only takes one. It only takes one for it to be something goes awry, and whether that's that ends that series or it something happens out of it, and that's all you're looking for. That's all you're hoping for. So I'm glad we're at home, and I can't wait to hear our crowd, and we know they're behind us, and it's going to be electric.
So Jaden Daniels has consistently risen to the occasion at home or on the road this season, guys. But beating the Lions in their own building will be his hardest test. Well, how much do you believe he's going to elevate against them? Or will Aaron Glenn's defense make him look mortal this time?
So I think that, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think Detroit has the best home field advantage in the entire NFL at this point in time. Like, these fans have been just dormant, waiting to go nuts for a great team, a playoff team that has legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. They have it now. Sean McVay said recently that or maybe it was this past offseason, said that the atmosphere in that playoff game against the Lions was the loudest game he's ever been in. Detroit is a different beast. East now. Now, Jaden Daniels played a bunch of SEC stadiums. He's played a bunch of NFL stadiums. He's acclimated to playing in hostile environments. This is going to be a different animal. It's going to be nighttime. It's going to be Saturday. It's going to be lubricated Lions fans, and they are going to be loose as a goose. Now, I think it will affect them. I think the best way to counter that would be to pull something out of not just what Lamar Jackson and Todd Monken and the Ravens did against the Steelers in the first round of the playoffs, but maybe harken back to what Colin Kaepernick and Jim Harbaugh and the 49ers did against the Packers one year, which is to bust out a playbook featuring tons of read option moves and let like triple stuff where, run pass option stuff. Let Jaden Daniels use his legs to throw off this Detroit defense and by addition, throw off this Detroit crowd. I think you need to be hyper aggressive with how you let Jaden Daniels throw down the field, how you let him run the football. And if you could take that crowd out of it, it nullifies everything that they have from a home field advantage. I think it's doable, but it's a very tough ask against a great coaching staff and a great football team in the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that, Will, because you're right. Like, if all of a sudden this place is going to be rocking, as crazy as it can get, also, if Jaden Daniels comes out to a strong start and all of a sudden it's 7-0, 10-0 Washington Commanders, that crazy building can get real tight. And then all of a sudden that starts to impact Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions offense more so than anything. But going back to Jaden Daniels and playing in this crazy environment, I kind of find that narrative a little bit overrated because, Will, as you kind of suggested there, this dude hasn't been homeschooled. He didn't play in his backyard. He played in the SEC. He played at LSU. He played at Tuscaloosa. He played at the Swamp. He played at Kyle Field. He's been in these hostile environments before, and not that Raymond James Stadium is the craziest atmosphere in the NFL, but he did just come off of a playoff win on the road. He's shown us that he can do this. Now, is this more difficult? Sure. There's going to be different variables in this game that could make it a little bit more strenuous for him. More so to me, it's not the environment. To me, it's if Amik Robertson is blanketing Terry McLaurin like he did Justin Jefferson in that Week 18 game against the Minnesota Vikings. If that is starting to become a thing, it really has nothing to do with Ford Field. It's more the play on the field.
So what you're saying is, both of y'all pretty much, is that you wouldn't be surprised if we come out of this game and Jaden Daniels has a wonderful performance and they take down the Lions.
I'm done being surprised at Jaden Daniels at this point. I mean, the dude, he came up with 15 different miracles. He's up there. Jesus had a lot of miracles. Jaden Daniels had a lot too. I mean, it's pretty insane this year.
No, has been a remarkable season for him, and we look to see if he's going to be able to continue it against the Lions. Now, for the other NFC divisional matchup, the Eagles-Rams game in Philly has 1 to 3 inches of snow in the projected forecast. It's going to be 32 degrees at kickoff. Funny enough, Matthew Stafford already has experience playing in the snow against the Eagles when he was with Detroit in 2013. It's one he probably wants to forget. His stat line, 10 of 25, 151 yards, no TDs. He fumbled 5 times, 3 in the first quarter, and the Eagles won by 14. Thanks in part to Shady McCoy setting a franchise-best 217 rushing yards. And listen, here's the thing about Matthew Stafford. When he's in conditions with the rain or snow at the time of kickoff, 1-8. Really bad. 54.6 completion percentage. Not looking good whatsoever. And 13 turnovers to just 14 passing TDs. So, Tyler, are you buying the stats, the numbers that we saw right there about maybe he's going to have another lackluster performance? Or does he show us, look, I won a Super Bowl for a reason, and I'm not going to let the snow or rain distract me from getting this W?
No, I think it is a valid concern. I mean, again, those stats don't lie. That is valid for a reason. And so, you are sure you can make the argument that, hey, listen, he's with Sean McVay now. They'll have something planned up. But if all of a sudden you are going up against a strong Philadelphia defense and they're able to get after you, if you're holding the ball just a little bit longer, and I think that's been one of the strengths for Matthew Stafford as of late, getting the ball out quick, really working things pre-snap, knowing where he's going to go with the football. If all of a sudden, if this environment just has you holding on the ball a little bit longer, then you might be in some trouble there, and those trends that we've seen in bad weather start to rear its head. And overall, I think Philadelphia on the opposite end is really kind of comfortable in this scenario. You talked about Shady McCoy. Saquon Barkley could break that this weekend. We saw what he was able to do earlier this season against this Rams run defense, about 255, 2 touchdowns. If they start to get up and then all of a sudden you're forcing Matthew Stafford into more pass-heavy situations and forcing him to throw the football in a condition where he might not be as comfortable as he would be, say, at SoFi Stadium or even back during his Detroit days at Ford Field, well, then all of a sudden Los Angeles doesn't look as scary as they may have been going into this at a neutral site.
Yeah, look, if the Eagles get a lead and the Rams can't stop the run, night. To my preseason Super Bowl pick, Bills over Rams, no big deal. They're still alive. However, I'm going to go the opposite way here and say it don't matter. Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He is an elite, maybe like one of the top 10 like arm talents we've ever seen. He's going to go out there. He and Sean McVay are going to have a plan. And that plan is going to be similar to what we saw against Minnesota, which is like Sully said, get the ball out of your hands quick, throw the ball early. Don't try and run against this beastie front rush defense that the Eagles have. Dump the ball off to whether it's Tyler Higbee, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams out of the backfield. Pass quickly, get the Eagles defense on its heels, score early, and then force the Eagles to have to throw in these conditions. Because I think if you do that, I mean, you can kind of make the case that Jalen Hurts wasn't great last week, and you could talk me into a situation where whoever gets the lead in this game and can sort of get after the passer, dropping back in those conditions, can force the other team to throw more in nasty weather and be able to run downhill is the one that's going to pull away in this. And I think the Rams can do that maybe a little bit better than the Eagles can if Los Angeles can stop the run early.
Right, that's the key. Can you stop Saquon Barkley? Are you going to make up for what happened in the regular season? It's going to be a fantastic affair between the Eagles and the Rams. Now, for the final game of the divisional matchups, the sports gods are giving us a movie, Lamar Jackson's Ravens versus Josh Allen's Bills. But how Derrick Henry, Lightning McQueen, because that's what he wants to be called now, does against Buffalo's run defense, is also a major storyline after he ran for 109 yards and a score in the Week 4 win over them. And for Sunday, we know that the Bills' defense is much healthier than in the regular season. So, Will, how did their game plan against Derrick Henry shape up to make sure that he doesn't run all over them again?
I mean, it feels like the same thing I'm saying was like against Saquon. Like, it's like, you just stop Derrick Henry from running all over you. But I do think, if you can load up the box. And look, Sean McDermott is a great head coach and a great defensive mind. And I think he will have a good game plan. Now, you got to execute that game plan. And as Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Derrick Henry is basically Mike Tyson of the NFL with the way that he runs. If the Bills can slow him down early and you have an offensive game plan that I think will involve a lot of Josh Allen using his legs and a lot of that really, really good Buffalo offensive line trying to create spaces for James Cook to run, again, get a lead and make Lamar Jackson one-dimensional. Lamar Jackson's a great passer. I'm not knocking his passing ability at all. He has developed immensely, even in the last 2 years in that offense. I think that one of the things that you can do is if you force him to throw a bunch, we saw it last year in the playoffs, it just changes the way their offense operates. And so I guess I'm hoping as a Bills backer that they can do it. It's, again, easy until Derrick Henry starts running downhill and stiff-arming you.
Right, and Will, you got to look at this too. It's going to be freezing at Orchard Park. We're talking about like a real feel like 0 degrees or in the negatives. If you're a Buffalo Bills defender and it's ice cold, and then you're just getting hit on by Derrick Henry play after play after play, that's going to be tough. And this is what I think is going to be interesting. This is why Derrick Henry is in Baltimore. As much as we talk about his sensational season in Baltimore, setting the franchise record for rushing touchdowns and all of that stuff, that's all well and good, but the reason why he's here is because this team could not run the football in the AFC Championship outside of Lamar Jackson. The running back position was basically non-existent. We get into these playoff scenarios, these divisional round, go into the AFC Championship, win or go home matchups. This is why Derrick Henry's here, and I think that he's going to expose a pretty fatal flaw of the Buffalo Bills, and that's that they kind of stink on third down. Like, they're just not that good at stopping teams on the critical down. And if you are Lamar Jackson, if you are Derrick Henry, you can probably defeat that. You could probably lean on that a little bit in terms of keeping the drives alive. And I go back to that Los Angeles Rams game earlier this season where the Buffalo Bills defense gave up 11 of 15 on third down. You don't think Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson can do that? I think it's going to be tough for them if they can't get off the field.
It will be very tough for them. But you know what I'm thankful for? All three of us, we don't have to worry about getting stiff-armed on national TV from Derrick Henry. Will Brinson, Tyler Sullivan, always bringing it down like pros. Appreciate y'all. And again, this game will be on CBS Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. It's also streaming on Paramount Plus. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, their teams going head-to-head for a chance to play in the AFC Championship.